He's done it. The Michigan goal in the first period. For the Grahams.
Run, Pelfy scores! Pelfy! It's it! And welcome back to Bull Spittin' with Clarky. As always, Derek Clark. As I gotta readjust the chair and a little bit of the mic gain, as always. Welcome back with Bull Spittin' with Derek Clark, aka Clarky. This is like episode 5 or 6 or 7, one of the 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. I don't even know the episode number. But welcome back. And it's roughly about 2 p.m. Eastern on a Sunday afternoon as I'm recording this. And it's been a unique day already in the racing world. It's been a unique, interesting world overall in the sports this past week. So let's get into it. First off, MLB news. Not much other than to report than the All-Star game or weekend, which will be July 16th. In Arlington, Texas, home of my Texas Rangers, who are struggling a little bit right now, but they'll figure out the pitching problem, and they'll figure out the hitting problem, and they'll figure it all out. Good old reigning World Series champions, Texas Rangers. They host the All-Star weekend starting July 16th. Racing world will jump in sooner or later. That's where the most news and noise is. But right now, we got to step back, talk about the hockey world. I did make a short, you guys, it was posted Saturday. I don't know if anybody's seen it. If you haven't, go check it out. It talks a little bit about it, but we'll talk more in depth here on the pod. The hockey world it's free agency time. Right now, it's unique. And the Nashville Predators are the ones who've made the most noise. First, it started with re-signing UC Soros to an 8-year deal, millions of dollars in that contract. Overall, a great idea for Nashville. Now they re-sign UC Soros, and you start thinking, like, of course they're going to re-sign UC Soros. It's the best goalie. But then the floodgates open. Steven Stamkos signs with Nashville. Jonathan Marchessault, Nashville. Brady Shea, Nashville. And then they re-sign Alexander Carrier. And now, you look at Nashville and you go, What? You just can't believe what Nashville is doing. And like I said in the video, in the short, once again, if you didn't see it, it should be literally right. It's the video before this, probably on YouTube. So, and it's on TikTok, of course. Derek.minidoc, as always. But that's what's really gotten crazy is my freaking laptop bings at me. But that's what's gotten crazy in Nashville is it looks like the Stanley Cup might take a trip there this next season. I'm not saying Nashville can. Actually, I am. I'm saying Nashville might win the Stanley Cup because it is a little bit crazy. It's a little bit crazy. Of course, Florida won the Stanley Cup this year. And they a lot of guys in Florida, they didn't stay. They left for better deals. There's a couple guys who went, I'm trying to think. There's been a few guys to leave, kind of the big names, a little bit core members of the team in Florida. So the Panthers down in Sunrise, they might not be the hockey team they were this year in winning the Stanley Cup. Right now, it looks like Nashville, for my beloved Ducks, not as good. We have Robbie Fabry as the biggest signing we've done, and that was because of a trade, and that's not that great. So, I mean, my Ducks are in a little bit of a hole, but Nashville is in a big boom, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Nashville's in the playoffs in this coming season, and heck, battling for Lord Stanley. So that's really the hockey world. It's a little interesting. It's heating up a bit. We've now, because of the draft, we've now seen the Fanatics jerseys, and they basically look the same with just a giant Fanatics logo on the back, and they got rid of the dimples that Adidas used to have. The Ducks, of course, we have new jerseys. The Kings have new jerseys. The Wild are probably not this coming season, but in a couple seasons, going to bring back that Minnesota North Star lighter green and lighter yellow that Minnesota used to rock, that the Minnesota North Stars, now Dallas Stars. But you get the point. It's a little bit of that unique situation going on in Minnesota where they look like they're going to go back to those lighter colors of the former Minnesota franchise. Now, Dallas Stars and Minnesota Wild, of course, a different franchise that isn't connected to the Minnesota North Stars. Now, out of the hockey world we go, because that is really the gist of the hockey world. It's just slowly heating up. We jump to the basketball world, I guess, a little bit. We have some bit of a crazy basketball. LeBron James' son, Bronny, just made his debut in the Summer League. It looks like he's talking a little bit to the haters and having some fun in the Summer League. I remember that there's still a lot of hate towards him. A lot of people are saying, it's because his dad's on the Lakers, and it probably is true, I won't lie. But he is showing that he can play the sport of basketball. But then again, he isn't playing against NBA talent in the Summer League. You do mostly play against G League players. So, I mean, there's a little bit of a gap there. Of course, my Dallas Mavericks did some crazy stuff. Clay, welcome. Clay, welcome. So now we have Doncic, Clay, and Kyrie, Klay Thompson. So, I mean, cool. Mavericks to the NBA Finals, maybe? I don't know. But, hopefully, I guess. But, yeah. Shout out to the Mavericks, I guess. Now, on to the racing world, because this is where the news is mostly, and that's probably where the chunk of this podcast is going to be today. So I hope you like motorsports, because there is a lot to unpack. Right now, the IndyCar race is on. Palou was in the lead last time I checked. F1 just ended. Lewis Hamilton got the win at Silverstone in England at his home track. The other British man from the UK, and Lando Norris, finished third. Max Verstappen was second. George Russell led for a good chunk. He's also from Great Britain. It was Russell, Hamilton, and Norris, the top three, to start the race on the starting grid. This first time in Silverstone history that three drivers from Great Britain, from the UK, of course, started at Silverstone. Now, Lewis Hamilton won for the first time in over 2.5 years. It's pretty emotional. He's the 11th win he's had in his career at Silverstone. So, shout out to him. It was a good one. It was a quick one. It was quick and fast and a racy race for F1. It was rain on and off, and it was a really good race overall. And Lewis Hamilton has now become the 5th different driver to win this season in F1. Now, out of F1, we go into the NASCAR world, because that is where the juices are in the racing world. We are in a weird moment in the NASCAR world overall, and this is where the news drops quickly. We go to the Xfinity Series with Hailie Deegan driving the 15 car. That team booted her out of the car this week. She's had a horrible situation with her. I mean, when she was in trucks driving the one car and driving trucks overall, she was really good in the decent in the truck series. And then below that, before that, she was in ARCA. And she was really good in ARCA. She was decent in trucks. And then she makes this jump to Xfinity, and she's not driving the car right. And they couldn't figure out if it was the car or the inexperience of Hailie Deegan. I'm not a Hailie Deegan hater. I know a lot of people are, because a lot of people just don't like her. And I'm going to be honest, in the racing world, there is a lot of women hatred towards women. And it's very interesting to see, being someone that, of course, owns race cars. My brother's the driver. I'm the crew chief. I don't know if we've talked really about that, but we haven't ran in 3-4 years because we're building the car. But we're still building and working on it. We hope to be out there next season or 2026, whenever the heck we can get that car done. I'll be honest, it's been a long road with that car. But we race against women all the time in the dirt world. We run sprint cars, and we don't really have a problem. But when you come to the higher levels, people bring up Danica Patrick, and I think that's where a lot of the sexism, and I'm going to be blunt, I think that's where a lot of the sexism comes. Danica Patrick did good in IndyCar. She had a win in IndyCar. She She dominated in IndyCar. She was great. Danica Patrick was great in IndyCar. She came to NASCAR, and she wasn't that great. I'll be honest with you. And I think because she wasn't great, Hailie Deegan's the next female in NASCAR that is getting the publicity that Danica Patrick once had. And I think with her not doing good, translates to people going, oh, she's the next Danica Patrick. She's just going to be the woman that wrecks everybody. So they talk a lot of crap. And I'll be honest with you, I've seen Hailie Deegan drive. She's raced dirt. She's run mini sprints and short course trucks and all kinds of open wheel vehicles. And she does phenomenal. And when she was in ARCA, she did great. She went to trucks. She did good. She did all right. She had problems, of course. Then, it was 2 years in the trucks. And then she makes this leap to Xfinity. And you know what? This team looked good. And it is a good team. The 15 team, that 15 car in Xfinity is a very unique team. And they get Hailie Deegan, which I think was a unique signing. People didn't like it at first, and now people really don't like it. And, the inexperience of Hailie Deegan really showed because they kick her out of the car. Joey Logano, who drives the 22 car in the Cup Series, of course, gets they hire him to drive. It's the Chicago Street Race this weekend, so he goes out there yesterday on Saturday in the 15 car. He gets him to qualify. Another big thing is her qualifying is a big problem. And there was 38 Xfinity cars that showed up for qualifying. 4 of them could be eliminated. Her best qualifying position this season is like 16th. Her overall qualifying position is like 28th. So the fear of possibly, theoretically, being booted out of qualifying and not qualify for the race was a big threat for this 15 team. So they go, okay, we want to check out the car. We want somebody that's experienced. Joey Logano, 2-time champion, 2-time Cup champion. I mean, screw it. Throw him in the car. So that's what they do. They throw Joey Logano in the 15 in the Xfinity race. He ends up finishing 8th in the 15 car. And they're pumped. And it really looked like it was a crew chief. He's a newer crew chief. It really looked like the crew chief, he didn't really know the adjustment things. And Joey Logano was kind of actually walking him through it mid-race. So it looks as though the 15 car is a mix of a crew chief who is a newer crew chief who kind of still needs to understand the car, and Hailie Deegan, who is a inexperienced driver, who it's her first year in the Xfinity Series, and she needs to drive the car more and really get under it. And a mix that might not work. Now, does this mean Hailie Deegan might not be the driver of the 15 car at the end of the season? Big possibility. Big possibility. The 15 team might be going, we need a driver that has experience. And not as much hate to Hailie, she's just inexperienced. I mean, I could 1,000%, I'm going to be honest, I could 100% see Hailie Deegan going down back to the Truck Series or getting a really smaller team in the Xfinity Series. I mean, the 15 team is a one-car team that's really small but has financial backing, and she carries sponsors with her. But if she gets out of that 15 car, if she wants to stay in the Xfinity Series, dude, you might have to get a part-time ride in the Xfinity Series, or if you want a full-time ride, you got to go in a car that finishes 33rd every weekend. So, I mean, it's up to her if she wants to stay and go to a smaller team. If they do boot her out of the 15 car, I don't know if they will. But right now, in my opinion, if I'm the owner of that 15 car in the Xfinity Series, I don't see why not that you don't boot her out. So, unique drama in the Xfinity Series in NASCAR. Staying with the Xfinity Series. Speaking of which, Shane Van Gisbergen. What a name. He's from New Zealand. For the people that don't know, he used to race supercars over there. He's from the country of New Zealand. He's a dominant supercar driver up there. Last year, he got in a Cup car. And in Chicago, ironically, because we're at the Chicago Street Race, in the streets of the city of Chicago, he won the first Chicago race in the Cup Series ever. Last year was the first ever time the Chicago race happened on the streets. He won the Cup race by a large freaking margin. So because of that, he said he loved the cars, and he stopped running his supercar, came over to the States, and runs full-time in the Xfinity Series, and then has a one-off race in the Cup Series, of course, the streets of Chicago. So he's doing double duty this weekend. Yesterday in the Xfinity Series, he's in the 97 car in the Xfinity Series. He's already had 2 prior wins. It was the other 2 road courses that they've been at. Well, now he's 3 for 3 on the road courses. His 3rd win of the year, won by like 2 seconds. Shane Van Gisbergen wins the Xfinity race. Kyle Larson was battling with him for a minute there for the lead with a few laps to go, but Shane got away, and Kyle even said, I learned a thing or two from him. Shane can drive a NASCAR pretty dang well, and he knows how to drive that car. So, Shane Van Gisbergen gets the Xfinity win. He's a favorite to win the Cup race now because he's now 2 for 2 at that race, or at the track, going for 3 for 3 of his 3 starts. So for his 2 starts, he's gotten wins at Chicago, looking to go for 3 for 3 in his starts and trying to go back-to-back years of winning the Chicago Street Race in the Cup Series. So we will see what that leads. I love Shane Van Gisbergen. Like I said, he's from New Zealand. I love his accent. Love that Australian, New Zealand area accent. It's one of my favorite accents around the world. I don't know why I'm talking about it, but it's true. His celebration, big rugby guy, signs and kicks a rugby ball into the stands, which I think is pretty unique. So, like Shane, like his energy. He was even asked by I can't think of his name, but the one who does the Xfinity Series on-track interview after the race. He gets out of his car, normal celebration. He said, Shane, do you now own Chicago? You've now won the Cup Series race last year. You win this race today. Do you now own Chicago? And Shane quickly answered with, no, I don't think about that. I just like the track and I know how to handle it, and I'm in front and the car's great and the guys are great. So Shane has some really good energy, and it's really cool to see somebody that has come in and really love driving a NASCAR. So we'll see what comes out of that. I'll be rooting for Shane on the streets of Chicago today. Another guy that actually did really good in the Xfinity Series that runs Cup full-time is Ty Gibbs, and he did great in the Xfinity race yesterday. He might be up there as well. Kyle Larson, of course, finished second. Kyle Larson can drive damn near everything and drive on every track, and I've seen him win multiple times in Cup, sprint cars and NASCARs, and I even witnessed him win live in a sprint car. So, Kyle Larson's always one of the favorites to win at any track, but he was up there really good yesterday in that Xfinity car that he was driving. There was a lot of Cup guys that were in Xfinity cars and trying to understand the track more. There was Joey Logano, obviously, Ty Gibbs, Kyle Larson, Austin Dillon was there, Daniel Suarez was in a car. I'm trying to think. I think there was one more. Obviously Shane, technically because he's running the Cup race today as well. So there's a big. AJ Allmendinger. That's it. AJ Allmendinger. So there's 6 or 7 Cup guys, 6 full-time Cup guys, and Shane being the one-time driver who are doing double. So it's a big deal, these streets of Chicago. Big turnout in Chicago as well. There's a lot of local sports reporters. There's 2 or 3 of them that talk a lot of crap about the Chicago street race. And they're like, these NASCARs, they're annoying. They should go back to Carolina because that's where NASCAR originated. And also, that's where all the Cup, Cup teams are. All the teams are basically based in North Carolina. At least all of them except a few, I think. So a lot of digging into NASCAR. A couple sports reporters over in Chicago really hate the street race, which is ironic. Because if you ask anybody in the city of Chicago, they love it. So people, I don't get it. But the Cup race should be interesting in the racing world because it should be a race to watch. Shane Van Gisbergen, as always. Hopefully he kicks a rugby ball if he wins today. I don't know if he will, but he'll be in the 16 car. The Wendy's Saucy Nugs car. They're there today. So we'll see if he eats some Wendy's maybe through the win. I don't know, but we'll see what happens in the Cup race today. But that's really it in the racing world. Actually, you know what? There is one more story. There was a testing today. They've been working on, and they just tested yesterday the NASCAR EV car, which EVs are electric. An electric NASCAR. I don't think they're going to go electric. I think they're going to try to pull some off like F1. F1 is a car that uses fuel, but it has a lot of technology involved in it. They're like, I think F1 cars are 40% electronic, basically, because of you can do the in-car adjustments. I think that's what NASCAR is touching on. But there's also, eventually, sadly, I think eventually, cars are going to go all electric in these major series because, in a way, they're cheaper for some of these teams. So, it depends, but we'll see what comes out of it. The EV testing comments on that were not too pleasing. People are like, this is the end of NASCAR. The minute this car touches the track is the minute I stop watching NASCAR. So, I mean, who even knows? People that comment stuff like that end up watching it anyway. So, I don't know. But that is the gist in the NASCAR world. A lot of weird crap going on there. That I think is really it. Football world. There isn't much to report on there. I know the Kelly Green uniforms are getting a couple games. I think I might have talked about that last pod. Trying to really think here. I think is that really it? That might just be it, folks. I know USA is getting ready for these Olympics. They start on July 26th. When the Olympics start quickly approaching, we'll talk more in depth, obviously, about the Olympics. Baseball, fencing, basketball, skateboarding. They're going to bring flag football in 2028. I know that's when 2028 hits. That's going to be a big thing for me in 4 years. But for now, we got the skateboarding, the fencing, the baseball, the basketball. Swimming. I watched the swimming. Dude, wrestling. Freaking, a lot of crap I watch in the Olympics. So when the Olympics fire up, folks, in a couple weeks, July 26th is the opening day and all that fun stuff. When the Olympics start, we'll get into a big talk about that. And I love me the Olympics. And if it was the Winter Olympics, when that comes in 2 years, oh boy, we're going to have fun. Well, I think that will do it here, folks. Thank you all for tuning in. This podcast is always so fun to talk to you guys. I know these episodes are short. They're only 20, 30 minutes. Eventually, I will have guests, and we'll have more hour-long podcasts and more talking in depth. And trust me, I'll eventually have my brother come on, and we'll have eventually. I know I brought that up like episode 2, but eventually he'll come on. He's a busy man working on his company. Shout out to Naughty Boy RC, I guess. That's my brother's RC car business and parts and stuff. And who knows, maybe Devin will sponsor me on this podcast. Who knows? But anyway, not important. Until then, guys, you all be safe out there. It's crazy out there. It's 4th of July. Fireworks. Crazy. You don't know what people are going to do with them. Well, folks, until then, as always, peace.